Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so it's about online fundraising for startups. Do you intend to ride this wave big time? So I really love this slide. It emphasizes the power of the right approach. Where are we now? Is it the era of crisis or era of opportunities? It is most definitely uncertain times, but who is better to deal with uncertainty than startups? So why LATOKEN? I'd like to begin with a few minutes about LATOKEN. It all started 2 years ago when LATOKEN raised 18 million in the ICO. You know, all of us know the ICO time. Since then, we have grown to be top 10% digital exchanges by liquidity in the world as per CoinMarketCap, and the largest launchpad for IOs according to ICO Bench. But how did we get there? You know, let me give you some vital stats that will help you understand why we are where we are. We have done like 150 plus IOs now since 2017 and listed about 400 plus tokens. This brought us more than 500,000 registered users and monthly website traffic of 3 million visits. A couple of points about our global footprint. LATOKEN organizes and promotes blockchain economic forum across the world throughout the year, events that gather entrepreneurs, investors, industry leaders, and renowned public speakers. And thanks to those events, we built a network of 80 billion plus AUM and 100 plus VC firms, angel investors, and family offices, which allows entrepreneurs and startups to raise 900 million through the participation and sponsorships of the Blockchain Economic Forum. Okay, the largest crypto fundraising platform for new tokens. You know, let's talk about new tokens. As I have said, ICO Bench rates LATOKEN as far as the largest launchpad for new tokens. In fact, we are 15% as big as here as the number 2 competitor and 68% as big as number 3. That shows you the importance that blockchain and crypto have attained in terms of offering startups and entrepreneurs a new way to raise funds. And LATOKEN and LATOKEN drives that way big time. In fact, we have provided this fundraising opportunities to 54 projects from all around the globe by August 2019. Only therefore, we have collected a substantial expertise in the fundraising process. Okay, these are some of the successful use cases. MISA Coin and CoinShare that raised a significant amount of funds on the IO. Airdrop. LATOKEN Airdrop offer product is a highly efficient tool project benefit from promote their IOs and greatly increase the number of traders of the project. 10,000 to 100,000 real Telegram groups, 20 plus success cases done on our platform. This is a very efficient tool for the IO, success of the IO. LATOKEN VCTV widget. A recently launched LATOKEN VCTV widget, which is what we are doing now, broadcast our today's roadshow to 15,000 viewers via the trading terminal, LATOKEN landing page, and crowdfunding section. Okay, list your token, invest in your coming IOs, buy your favorite cryptocurrency on top-ranked LATOKEN app with the lowest fees on your local market with one click. So this is the app which we have launched recently. So this is the worldwide investor roadshows, the blockchain economic forum that I explained before. The fundraise online 10 times less and less cost and 100 times out. This is very important aspect of the fundraising, online fundraising. So we have 3 products: Investors Room, online pitching sessions, crowdfunding campaign, online, which crowdfunding campaign consists of online pitching sessions plus IO. So there are simple steps. What is the Investors Room all about? Create your landing page on LATOKEN, which gives you visibility to 500,000 plus potential investors and 3 million plus new coming visitors. Present your project with LATOKEN team of investment experts in your own video streaming room. Get shortlisted to present your project in front of selected investors. Online pitching sessions. LATOKEN is currently offering a great crowdfunding method in the global pandemic scenario. Online fundraising pitch sessions in front of investors with about 80 billion plus AUM. Here is the value that your project receives, reaching a worldwide investor community of 500K plus, no cross-border travel expenses and issues, as we all know, flexible scheduling, marketing support, instant equity sell. crowdfunding campaign. Some of the projects can also add crowdfunding to their online pitching session if you have a token, and we make a primary offering campaign targeted at 500K user base. There are 2 steps to raise funds on the LATOKEN now. To sum up, the process of participating in online pitching session is very straightforward. Pitch for a LATOKEN team of investment experts, pitch in front of selected 80 AUM VC funds. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this presentation. I would like to conclude my part by saying that we intend to be a part of your fundraising success. If you want to reserve the pitching slot for your project, send me your email, which I'm going to share after this, and or WhatsApp, and we can go from there. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. I'm going to move to the next steps of this session. I'm going to stop the share. Thank you, speakers. Thank you for your patience for watching this presentation. So I would like to start with everybody with a short intro about yourself, your company, and what are you currently doing. Bruce Porter, would you like to start first, like a short intro about yourself, what are you doing now, and in the blockchain or crypto space? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Bruce Porter Jr. here. I've really been missing being live on stage all over the place, missing the tour big time. You know, the last time I was on an international trip, we were at the Palaces of Vienna doing our Washington Elite event. And then our second one there in Miami, we just left the Versace mansion on the 17th of January. I came home, everybody was calling me about COVID. So I've been in the blockchain space for about 8 years. I originally started out trading Bitcoins for model staffing services. We do trade shows and all types of different things. We still do that. And started a GlobalBoost blockchain, one of the original blockchains back in 2014. And now we throw the Washington Elite Summit as well, all over the world. Really looking back to getting that going again.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks. Oh, I heard a music in between. Sorry. Next one.
Wasn't me.
Who is that? Who is that playing? Okay, sorry. Let's move to Clive. Clive Butkow. Clive, would you like to start a short introduction about yourself, what you're doing right now in the space, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Sani. So my name is Clive Batko. I am the CEO of Kalon Venture Partners, a digital disruptive tech venture capital company located in Johannesburg. We're a special type of VC that we can only initially invest in South African companies with the intention of taking them into Africa and then globalizing them and raising our Series A, B, and C all over the world. My background, I was the CEO of Accenture South Africa. I retired about 8 years ago and really followed my passion of building tech businesses. I've built tech businesses all over the world. I'm not a crypto guy, so I'm not going to be even answer a question on crypto. Blockchain is obviously, we invest in any disruptive technology, and if blockchain technology solves the problem that we're looking for and is an actual aspirin for the pain, then we will invest in a blockchain solution. We have nearly invested in one, which was a company called the Sun Exchange, but unfortunately they were domiciled in America and we can only invest in South African domiciliation. So we are definitely, we see a lot of blockchain companies, but nothing yet that we've actually invested in. All
right. Okay, great. Thanks for that introduction. Our last speaker, we have Stefan Hulbert. Sorry, you're mute, Stefan. Please introduce yourself, including what you're doing right now in the space, and yeah, thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for Sony and Osita and LATOKEN team to having me today. And also thank you to everyone out there listening to this panel. Yeah, my name is Stefan Hulbert. I'm founder of Ideations. It's a firm that connects knowledge, investor relations, strategic investors, and we're working and advising tech clients, but also tech funds on business and innovation strategies. So I think the core of overall is innovation and high-tech companies. My past experience comes from, I was doing management consulting and working for international network agencies in C-level roles for nearly about 20 years. And I had the opportunity to work in 6 continents, which gives me a wide network, and that helps a lot connecting businesses. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome to the session of ECTV today. So between me and my colleague Osita, who is the regional manager of South Africa, we're going to ask a few questions to all of your panelists. I'd like to start with the first question, and I'm going to go around between all the speakers. So the first question would be, what has changed with COVID-19 in terms of institutional and private equity investment? Bruce would like to take this question first.
Sure. Well, the whole world has changed, right? I mean, it really has been something else. Nobody has ever experienced anything like this before. And, here in the US, it's really a political situation, which I think is probably unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I guess it's probably like that around the world. But, everything kind of came to a stop. I mean, we all looked at it, we got through January, we got to February, and we all started realizing, wow, we really have a problem here. And we're looking at China not really having good information. And then, of course, now we really don't have, it seems we don't have good information either. So a lot of the investment did stop for a while. And, now I think people are coming around to the new normal. They're looking again at different companies. You've also had this influx of fiat money, really from most governments of the world. Most of the big governments of the world have put these massive stimulus packages out. And that has fueled some of the price gains that you see. I know Hoskinson was talking about it in one of his podcasts the other day. He mentioned the PPP loans or the PPP loans, whatever they are, and a few times. And if you look at the Cardano price, it has gone up quite a bit. So it has definitely affected things. Everything kind of came to a stop. Now things are starting to build again as we get to the new normal. You have things like this with LATOKEN or LATOKEN, depending on how you say it, putting together these forums. You have a lot of different companies putting these online forums. And that's going to be, it's hard to put a roadshow, right? We used to do, I had a client, actually, one of my last clients that canceled, and we were going to do an investment roadshow, DC, Chicago, New York, LA. And we were initially supposed to do it in Asia, but Asia got shut down first. And so then they wanted to do it here. And then we didn't really get it off the ground either. But that online roadshow and getting the money out of the pockets and the institutions is the new game. And how does that work? And, how does it look moving forward the next 3 months, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and where we're going to be. So it's going to be pretty interesting how that all rolls out. But of course, everyone's going to want their money to make more money. So we're going to figure it out.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Stefan, I'd like to go with you next to the same question. So what has changed with COVID-19 in terms of institutional and private equity investment, especially in DLTs and blockchain projects?
Right. Let us first look at why they get hit, right? So institutional investors have today distressed portfolios. And that means it is blockchain, it is DLT, it can be crypto, it can be any asset, it can be real estate, right? Regardless if you digitalize it, so if it's a digital asset or if it's a real asset, yeah, all these assets come under stress, right? And the question is why, right? So first, a fund has money invested and a few money is there for the next investments, which they're looking for the next investments. And now they stopped investing that. Why? Because they need this money desperately, yeah, to stabilize whatever they invested in and to avoid that their past investments are crashing. Yeah. Nevertheless, something happens. Let's assume a fund with 100 million assets under management before Corona. Yeah. Instantly they get hit, and now maybe they have only 50 million assets under management, right? In the moment they want to raise new money, they have to reevaluate everything. So they need a new valuation. And now think about, you're the fund manager, you're the investment manager who is responsible for it. Yeah, it is tied to your holiday season bonus, right? And I think if you're in the US, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's the holiday season bonus that makes a huge payment of your paycheck at the end of the year when you run a fund. And I'm sure blockchain funds are working like all the other funds in the same way, right? So for them, the short-term financing and the financing in new projects is really distressed, and they have their own problems. That means first they will stabilize whatever they have, yeah, and second they try to make the best out of it before they go investing. And as Bruce said, they're going for the diamonds, for the rough diamonds which are there and out in the market, and maybe these are protocols or maybe these are services, whatever, where they think it fits into the new world. Right, and then there's something else you should consider when you talk about when you think about funds. Yeah, it's important to understand for a startup the way how they invest now, how a fund invests has also changed, because these guys can't meet you anymore, as Bruce pointed out rightly. Yeah, they need a kind of digitalization form, and the more digital these funds are today, and the more they're using platforms where they can access, the better it is for the startups and the better it is for the funds, right? Because the human interaction is missing now, right? And that will have, I think, the financing will go to be an afterthought. That means even the deal terms will go under what I would predict for startups and also for blockchain under what I would say a revolution. That means covenants are getting tight, and very, you say the guarantees and the earnouts, yeah, you will be very likely, they will be popular as today in the COVID area, masks and gloves.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those insights with us, Stefan. So let's move on to Clive with the same question.
Yeah, thanks, Sonny. So I'll base this on two parts for this question: is what are we doing now? What do we do come March when we had the lockdown in South Africa? And what are we going to be doing going forward? And I'm talking about this with my venture capital hat on. So the first thing we did was we triaged our portfolios. We've got 7 companies. The word triage really comes from war. It's a term that says, you know, when your hospitals are full, there's certain patients you're just going to leave them out there to die. And this is the reality. And there's certain patients you're going to treat them because you can help them recover. And we did exactly the same thing with our portfolios. We said these businesses, whether they're blockchain, AR, big data, machine learning, it doesn't matter. They COVID beneficiaries. They will get through this rough time. And others, we're saying, you know, if we have to just let them, if they run out of cash, they run out of cash. There's nothing we can do about it. So that's the first thing we did. Fortunately for us, in our portfolio of our 7 companies, we had 6 of them that were in 3 categories. And I'll give you quickly what categories we looked at. We looked at one, decimated by COVID, i.e. you're in hospitality, you're in travel, you're in one of those businesses that your revenue's gone from whatever it was to 0. So you've just gone to nothing, airlines, etc. Number 2 is that you're COVID okay, i.e. you've cut your revenue forecast, but you probably cut them by about 50 to 100% your revenue forecast. And number 3 is COVID beneficiary. So you're either 2x, 3x, or 5x up. So except for one business, 6 of our businesses are either in the middle category, and most importantly, most of our businesses are in the COVID beneficiary category. Just to give an example of that, one is a digital marketing platform. It went from about $1 million a month. That was in February, and we're doing about $3 million a month now in June. So it's gone 200% up. It's close to 300% up. And I won't go through each of the. So that's the first thing we did: triage our portfolio, looked at which businesses we're going to support. The next thing we did, we said, okay, businesses we need, not like the old days, 9 to 12 months of capital, because then we could raise all cash flow, because we could raise the next round of capital. We said we need 24 to 30, 36 months worth of capital. It's going to be really hard to raise. Valuations are going to be under pressure. I think, as Stefan said, terms are going to be under pressure. Let's quickly go out there and raise the capital. So fortunately, a lot of our businesses had just raised capital, so we were in a really good position. So we cut the costs, we cut whatever we had to cut. We really went back to zero-based budgeting. We looked at every single cost in the business and said, from a zero base, do we need to spend this money or don't we need to spend this money? And I asked all my portfolio companies to come back with a 24 to 36 month plan, on which they did. One company didn't have that runway, but fortunately, we've been able to put a lot of effort into raising a $1.5 million round, where we've now got the 24 to 36 month worth of runway. The key for me as a VC is that you need, in these times, it's tough to raise capital. There's illiquid markets. A lot of the LPs are forsaking on their commitments, saying, oh, sorry, I don't have the capital. They're also doing all this, looking at their property and looking at their blockchain or cryptos and looking at their investments in venture capital and actually not following the obligation. So it's a tough illiquid market out there. But I think as a VC, what we've done is we've probably secured the future of 6 out of our 7 businesses. The one we're trying everything in our power, but in all honesty, if it runs out of cash, it runs out of cash. You know, cash is king. We always know cash is king. But in this market, you know, the venture capitalists now, for 5 months ago, we were the beggars and everyone else was the kings. The entrepreneurs were dictating their prices. That's just swung around now. You know, we're dictating the prices we pay and we're coming out as the kings and they're coming out as the beggars. So that's what we're doing now. We've done it. We're doing nicely. We're very happy how our portfolio is doing and we're very, very well set up. We've got more capital to invest. So the big issue now is how do we continue with having this not been able to meet entrepreneurs? I've heard a lot of VCs saying they'll stop investing. We're not taking that approach at all. All we're doing is we're comfortable. We have a lot more meetings. We have over Zoom or whatever it might be. And we conduct a further due diligence. We conducted due diligence in a bit more, a bit deeper due diligence. And we're making a couple more investments now where we've never actually met the founders. It is risky, but this is our business of taking risks. So we're going to continue doing that and we'll do it through Zoom calls.
Absolutely. I would have to agree to that. All deals are getting closed on Zoom calls. Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. So very smoothly, I'm going to move on to the next question. Now, if the startups, hypothetically speaking, post-COVID, okay? So the startups have already got the funds. So what are the strategy, what should they be doing post-COVID? Like, you know, just hypothetically speaking, in 6 months, we have the vaccination and we have the old normal. So what should they be doing to build a sustainable business, scale and attract needed investment? So we never know when human beings are going to be faced with another pandemic of maybe a different nature, who knows? So what are your advice to these startups for a longer term sustainability? Bruce?
Yeah, so, you know, really, it's like CZ from Binance says, you know, build it. You just got to keep building it. And that's, you know, one of the things I put out a video recently, and I said, the winners keep building. And that's really, it's really the case. You know, life throws curveballs at you. And this is a big curveball for the whole planet, but we're going to get through it. And we're going to work it out. I don't know if it'll be in 6 months. I hope it'll be in 6 months. I think it might be more like a year and 6 months, but we'll see. And, you know, it's time to really build it, build the online communities, you know, build those different groups that you have. You know, there's going to be a lot of technology. There already is. But there's going to be a lot more technology that comes out of this time because you have guys like myself who are, you know, normally running around the world a couple times a month. And now I'm sitting here, you know, working on my tan at the pool with my daughters and whatnot. So, that's really the thing is you really want to build it, bring the technology, all the projects that you have been working on or wanted to work on in the past, bring those forward and really get them ready to showcase. And I'll tell you what, once we all hit the roadshow again, it's going to be one heck of a time because everybody's going to have their new stuff and be ready to rock and roll. So really looking forward to it. And that's really the thing is keep building, just keep building. The winners keep building.
Absolutely. I like that. Winners keep building. Thank you, Bruce.
That's right.
Stefan, I'd like to have you answer the same question.
Okay, so we just figured out investment landscape may just look very different in the near future. And to answer the question, let me rephrase it. So how do winners look like in a world with a new setup, right? So, and when you think about that 65 million years ago, the Earth was hit by a large meteor. And it has the instinct of the extinct of the dinosaurs, right? By this, what I call deep impact, right? And it was the dawn of the mammals. And so what does it mean for startups? Yeah. So we have now COVID, and it might be not really that deep, the impact, but it will be a huge impact of COVID-19. And it will hit massively, massively the large companies, the existing companies, the companies who are there and who are the players maybe for 10, for 20, for 30 years. They're in the market, except of, let's leave Amazon and the winners, as Clive pointed out, let put them beside. So that means for a startup, who is a kind of small mammal now in this world, yeah, they have the chance to grow. They have the chance to build their business. And the question is, they can be the winner. And if they are adaptable, if they're prepared to communicating digitally, if they're offering, and Clive said, the VCs determine the deals, if they're offering now adapted deals, if they can say goodbye to their dream about millions of valuation and play the game together with the VCs. And then I think the winners will have the chance to grow. And the last thing is, I'm planning seriously to invest in an online travel agency now, right? Because I believe it's a small one. They will not be hit like the large ones who are existing. They will not be hit like the large ones who have now the large costs and have to downscale. Yeah, that can be, if they're in a niche, that can be a future. So I think even startups who are in distressed areas have the chance to grow way faster and way stronger than they ever could do before without this COVID impact. Because if there's no impact, this deep impact, the large players would still determine the market and they have no chance to come up. Yeah, 3 things they should do. First, find now potential investors and build now the relationship with these investors now in this time, because of, like Clive said, he sits at home and he has more time than ever before, right? Because we don't have to travel, we don't have these meetings, so you can have qualitative relationships built with potential investors over time. And if it doesn't come to an investment, no worries. Yeah, you can learn. Both sides can learn by just having this discussion. Second, get your financial documents strategically right so that you're prepared when this thing starts again. And finally, make sure that they're integrated. And the last thing you had at the beginning of 15 minutes presentation, look for places where you can put your investment. Look for places where you as a startup have the chance to present to investors, right? And to also play with the new rules, yeah? Because if you can do all together, build the startups, have the documentations right, and the platforms where you can present, yeah, you have, and I believe really, a large chance as a startup, yeah, to grow way faster than in a world with all these existing dinosaurs.
Very, very valid point, Stefan. So startups, if you're a small startup, don't lose heart. Stefan is going to invest in a small travel industry. So this is the right time for you to build relationship with your investors, right time to look at your financial health, and right time to venture into those investments that you would otherwise not look into. So the big players are gotten affected. So it's the time for the small players to show and shine. Thank you so much. Clive, over to you with the same question.
Yeah, thanks, Sonny. Yeah, it's most intriguing listening to my colleagues' feedback there. I think first and foremost, entrepreneurs must understand that it's a great time to start a business. It really is. I mean, some of the biggest businesses have been started in the downturn. You know, you look at things like Google, Salesforce, WhatsApp, Airbnb. They all started in 2000. There was a huge recession that was going on, and these great businesses were built through big recessions. So I think you're going to see a new wave of technology companies. They're going to start dominating and becoming your unicorns in the US, and hopefully some of them are coming from South Africa, and even more so coming from Kalon Venture Partners, which will really be great. But I think, to me, there's 4 questions I would ask of if you are an entrepreneur. I would look at there's 4 questions I'd ask to answer your question whether you should be releasing a new startup. But just remembering that the needs, the wishes, and the budgets of consumers have completely changed from what they were 5 months ago to what they are today. You know, you have to be looking at the security and the safety of your consumers. You got to look at the budget of the consumers, where they spend their money. You got to look at e-commerce versus the bricks and mortar. So there's a lot of new industries and verticals that are going to be really, really very, and maybe travel, as Stefan saying, maybe that will take off and could be one of them that, bounce back pretty quickly. But I think just quickly those four questions. I think firstly, do you fit into the new normal? So business as usual is off the table. We all know that. So you need to assess whether the market still needs your business idea. Is it something that the market's going to look at? And if you look at corporates today, what are they doing? They're cutting costs and they're looking at businesses that are going to drive revenue growth. There's nothing else they're looking at. You know, they're not looking at anything. In fact, they're quite paralyzed at the moment. A lot of businesses I work with here in South Africa. So you need to find a real painkiller. Maybe a business that was a painkiller before is now just a vitamin. It's not a great business for you anymore. And that's not the business that you should be building. So do you fit into the new normal? Is it a COVID-19 beneficiary business going out of COVID? And if it is, that's definitely something you should be looking at. I think the second question is, how crowded is your market? So, you know, if you're another ride-hailing company and you're taking on Uber in this type of space, it's not the time I would do that. So I think you need to do a lot of R&D and a lot of market research to make sure, and it's probably more vital than ever, because that's why big businesses are built in a recession, is because a lot of other businesses have gone out of business. So there's less businesses in your comparative space. But if you take on the Goliaths like Uber, you're probably going to lose, and it's going to take a bucket load of capital to actually do that. So it's probably not a good time to launch one of those businesses. Do you want to launch a business where there's no competition? I always say if there's no competition, you're probably not solving a problem. So I wouldn't build a business where there's no competition. I'd rather look at verticals and smaller verticals, more niche type of products where there's some businesses going out of business, but there's less competition, but you're definitely solving a significant problem in the marketplace. The third question is, how clear is your niche? You need to have a niche. You can't start chasing 10 verticals simultaneously. Find an industry that, you know, I would say not hospitality and not some of the industries that have been hit so hard, but there's some industries that really are very COVID beneficiaries. So look at those industries of actually solving problems in those industries, because they're going to be opportunities for entrepreneurs to grow the business. So if it's in e-commerce, online, you know, those type of things are going to be telemedicine, education, online education. They're going to be great opportunities. And the last question I would ask is, what do potential customers think about the idea? And you might say, but I can't ask them. That's nonsense. You can send out questionnaires online, not to your family and friends, to complete strangers, and don't ask them the questions that you want to hear. So this is no different to how you find product market fit or how you do customer development today in a normal business. But I think it's even more so post-COVID that you need to go and ask 100 people that you don't know, what do they think of this idea? Would you pay for it? Is it going to solve a problem? Is it a nice to have, or is it a need to have? And if you can confirm that it's an aspirin, you know, solving a painkiller opposed to a vitamin for a nice to have, I think you've probably got something that's in business. And it just must have a clear market need. And if it's got, so you get a yes to those 4 questions, I would say that's a business you should look at launching in the new in the post-COVID environment.
Excellent. Startups, 4 points to be noted. Thank you, Clive. Thank you a lot. So now I pass the floor to my colleague in South Africa, Osita, to ask you the remainder of the questions. Osita, over to you.
Thank you, Sunny.
Osita, you are on mute.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Hi, Bruce, Clive, and Stephan. Thank you for joining us. Just before I move on to the next question, I just have to introduce myself because I guess I didn't get the opportunity to do so. Yeah. So my name is Osita Egeonu. I am the official representative of LATOKEN in South Africa. Company revolves around identifying great promising startups, enabling them to scale and achieve their full potential, which includes helping with fundraising need, asset tokenization, exchange listing, and post-listing performances. And so that's it. That's all about what I do in LATOKEN. And so I'm going to move to the next question. And I'm going to start with Bruce. You know, Clive mentioned earlier some certain businesses have gone from certain revenue a year to being decimated. And in this case, as it is, I would like to start from you, Bruce. Given this landscape where we are faced with uncertainties, businesses are closing down, you know, a lot of things is happening. Regulators don't really know how to take on this issue.
So the to just clarify the question. So how should a company that is moving forward operate in this new environment? Is that what you broke up just a little bit?
Hi, Osita, are you there?
I can just kind of take it while he's.
Okay, sure, please.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of companies that are closing down really all the time, and a lot of them aren't coming back. I read an article last night talking about the business travel and how the airlines are not expecting the business travel to come back, and you know that's a big part of the business. You know, I'm no longer booking a flight to Singapore the night before and paying whatever the cost is because I need to go there. You know, those types of things aren't happening. That business travel isn't happening, and it might be quite a while, or if it does. But the you know, for the companies that are staying in business and they've done what they need to do, or their spots can continue to operate, really they want to focus on, and yeah, Clive did bring up a lot of good points there. But they want to focus on, you know, what is the new revenue stream? How are they going to move forward in this post-COVID environment? I mean, you see a lot of the guys. I mean, I see a lot of the guys from the tour even, and they're on. You know, everybody's jumping in on the PPE and the masks and the gloves and everything else. You see a need, and you start to fill it. But you know, for these companies, you really want to make sure that you are one, moving in a direction where we don't know when this is all going to end. So you really want to move in that direction where your online presence and your online community is growing, and then really be ready for the next step, which hopefully comes very quickly.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm sorry, I've been having issues with my network. So my question was, what strategy should be employed to enable speedy business and economic recovery through regulation, both from the regulatory perspective, both from the key players in various industries? What needs to be done? That was my question before I got disconnected. So thank you, Bruce. And I think Stephan can take the next question.
Then I pick up on your question, which I could hear now. Before it was a bit technical problem. So let me start with one thing. A regulation is normally locally. So when we look, we have a lot of local regulations. And I believe regulations, even in this crisis, and we see how all this is connected, should be minimal regionally, when not internationally, right? So, and when you look at what these regulations are doing, mainly it's easy, you get a fintech regulations. It's way more complicated to get a crypto regulation. And now let me come back. What is the problem with COVID-19? So forget the virus. The problem is the liquidity is not there. The money is not there. Partially the liquidity is there, but people are sitting on the liquidity and not moving it around because there is no regulation. And let me just come back with a very simple example I think everybody has in his mind. Let's say Facebook and Libra. Yeah, I think, come on, that story is gone, right? And it was blocked by regulators. So what else is possible that we can trust in a digital currency, in a global digital currency? So it could be the digital dollar. But when I remember Libra and I remember the regulators and the discussions, I would say the digital dollar is not my first bet. Sorry, Bruce, right? Yeah. Then the next thing which closest to the US is the digital pesos. We had that in Venezuela, but I think I would better play roulette, right? So it could be a kind of digital ruble, yeah, which is, I think, possible, and that might have in EEE, in the old GUS countries, its place, right? But then what is left, and what you can probably think about, is the digital yuan. When China creates something like that, and they would come with that on the market, yeah, you can trust one thing. When they say they do it, you can trust they do it. When they say it is backed, they will back it, right? It will come with terms and conditions, and the question is, does everybody want to use it or not? But I think this is what we need between all the regulators globally, and hopefully the trade war is over soon, and we have the chance to discuss that, because it will help startups. It will help startups in the blockchain, in the crypto area. It will help also very normal businesses, yeah, to have a trusted exchange in the kind of liquidity. Because when you think about liquidity management, everybody thinks now, yeah, I want to pay my next bills. That is why I need liquidity. Totally correct. Clive explained how we save on liquidity to be liquid all the time. That is one thing. But now think, you have also the liquidity of digital assets, which you have to combine, right? And by the combination of digital assets to a digital currency, to an international exchangeable currency, yeah, I think that is a task after this crisis, and now with so many countries all aligned and thinking about this problem, yeah, maybe that is a chance that they're really going together and thinking about how they can create something like that. And if we end up with 2 or 3 different ones, like a digital dollar and a digital ruble and a digital yuan, I can live with that if we have an exchange and exchange rates, because it will be the same like today. But that is what I believe regulators can do to speed up business, not only the blockchain and the cryptocurrency business, but in general, yeah, with digital currencies. That's my point to that question.
And, if I could just real quick, I mean, yeah, it is all good that nobody wants cash anymore. I mean, someone tries to hand you cash. Who in the world wants to take cash in this COVID environment? Nobody. And so I think even as these governments are printing so much fiat money, why not print a digital dollar? Well, they're scared of having control and everything else. But I agree with Stefan that at a certain point, and it's probably in the very near future, these regulators are going to figure out their play and how they're really going to control it, and realize that it's a great way forward, and it's going to change everything, really.
Thank you, Bruce and Stefan. And Clive, can we take your comment of point?
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Osita. I'm not going to talk about the digital currencies and blockchain, because clearly Stefan and Bruce are the experts in that, and I'm definitely not the expert in that. So I think from a regulatory point of view, I think the COVID's probably a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because I think governments are going to realize it, and I'm talking about South Africa here for a while, that with a number of decimated, killed startups that we have seen in our country and the unemployment that's created, it's absolutely frightening. It's frightening. And I'm hoping that's going to be a wake-up call to move from red tape to red carpet, that the regulatory environment in South Africa for startups. And I'm not going to go through the issues that I think that could be done, but I do think the one thing that could be done, which is done in a lot of other countries, is a lot more pension fund money and government investment money, the trillions of or hundreds of millions of dollars that are sitting there that are going into private equity or going into real estate or going into other asset classes, can actually be allocated a small percentage into the venture capital asset class. So one of the biggest challenges we have in South Africa and Africa is that we just don't have enough capital. We need more liquidity, and there is lots of capital floating around. It's just not going into the venture capital asset class. So that's the one thing I think hopefully people will see, that we need to create jobs. It's a cheaper way of creating jobs, and there'll be more of an asset allocation into venture capital. I think post that, what should we be doing post-COVID? Just go back to 101. Just do what you were doing before. Customers are king. Never forget about who's paying your salaries of your employees, your customers, not you, it's your customers. So get back to your customers, look after your customers, make them raving fan clients, invest in customer support. I tell my companies, invest in customer support before you invest in sales. It's 6 times cheaper to sell to your current customer than to sell to a new customer. So just keep those, particularly in the software as a service or any subscription-based business or any enterprise business, look after your current customers. They are your future. That's what's going to generate your cash flow. And that is no different to the way things were pre-COVID. They're just going to be exactly the way. It's just business 101. Just keep on running it in the right way and remembering who's paying your salary at the end of the day.
Thank you very much, Clive. Thank you very much. Moving on to the very last question. Stephen, you mentioned earlier about how these regulators are blocking several of these startups, especially in the blockchain space. You mentioned Facebook, Libra, and so many of them. So I just want to hear your thoughts on what should be done to align the role of policymakers to drive a positive ecosystem and build a strategic partnership, both in the blockchain and crypto space.
So Bruce, did you get that question well? Because I just figured that you probably didn't get the question well. So let me give you questions.
Yeah.
Aligning the role of policymakers to drive a positive ecosystem and a strategic partnership in the blockchain, DeFi, and crypto space in general. So how the policymakers can help.
Got it. All right. Well, first of all, the DeFi space is just blowing up. And this has been happening for quite a while. And there's so many exciting new advancements that are coming into that space. And, as an old blockchain guy, I mean, regulator, for me, I mean, I would rather the regulators stay the heck out of things. Okay. Understand that as far as, all these things go, we do need the regulators. And nobody wants people to lose a bunch of money. I mean, that's really the long and short of it. And that's why they're there, is to protect the investor, to protect the mom and pop who decide to invest and don't lose all of their money. So, with the DeFi, what's coming on, you have the, easy ways, asset-backed tokens, do these stable tokens, everything else. And it's really changing everything and how a lot of these old coins even are interacting with the new technology, becoming ERC 20 compliant and all these types of things. So, as far as with the regulators, I think providing a space that we don't need a whole lot of regulation. I guess I go back to that. I don't think that we need a whole lot of regulation. The regulations that we have, fine, with the KYCs and the this and the that is fine. I am not looking at that space thinking that we need a whole lot of regulation added on to what that we have. If they do want to do something to provide some type of a framework or look at what technologies or companies are providing now, and then maybe on that. Like I said, the ERC 20 compliant tokens, wrapping different of these coins is very interesting. A lot of people are doing that. Wrapped Bitcoin has its own market cap. So do a lot of the other ones. If you go to coinmarketcap.com/DeFi, you'll see there's about 200 assets there. Very interesting space. I am for less regulation, not more regulation. Of course, our president is here in the US is the same. Less regulation fuels growth.
Thank you very much, Bruce and Stephan.
Yeah, okay. I think regulators should consider to build a diversified investment ecosystem with fintech, with data, with blockchain, and with crypto areas all in one. Because in the moment, they're regulating each and everything for its own. Yeah. And it's not only, it's about the investors, as Bruce said, but it's also about the hardworking startups who put a lot of time and money and blood, sweat, and tears into that they get this the underlying proof, yeah, that what they're doing is right, and this is the rail where they can go down. That's what I believe. From the investment side, I would love to see that investors are doing kind of direct investments in projects, but also the investments indirect via funds, that both is regulated. Yeah, with funds it's more regulated today. Yeah, and if that comes, it should include private placements, it should include e-shares or digital shares, and it also should include the STOs. So from my 2 cents. But the key in total is international alignment. And now, as a European, as a German, I can tell you, if you have a fintech project, yeah, don't go to Germany, yeah, because of the BaFin, yeah, is regulating on the same jurisdiction all over Europe, like London or Paris, but you can ask a lot of blockchain or lawyers or whatever, and they will tell you probably there are way better places than Frankfurt or the Germany to go with your fintech company in and the fun part is, same regulated environment, because it's all European Union, right? which brings me back to, I think, in other regions, and I want to come back to the Middle East now. We have with ESCA, Security and Commodity Authority. I worked with these guys before they started their sandbox, so we had the chance to submit some knowledge and to give some input how to build a sandbox. But in Dubai, you have also ADGM, you have DFSA, and DFSA is Dubai Financial Authorities. They're working very close with SAMA, with the Saudi Arabian financial authorities. But what Dubai Financial Authorities did this year, they built a sandbox for 25 companies all over the world. And they had the chance to present their processes, diverse business models. And now they're, for a while, unlocked in the sandbox. So they're not under the heavy regulation. That means they have now the chance to try to do it. And they have included digital sukuk issuances. This is a kind of Islamic banking, it's Islamic bonds. On smart contracts, they have tokenized securities, and tokenized debt offerings are allowed. Tokenized crowdfunding is one of the projects. SMB lending platforms is one of the projects, and AI in credit analysis. So I'm not sure if all are DeFi, like we said before, but I'm following them, and I believe that is an initiative. When that gains traction, they should go on an international level. And I know that the UAE works closely with Singapore, with MES together. Yeah, so the chance is that this spreads. What we need are more initiatives like that. And I know it is complicated, it is complex, but it is connected. And if we understand the cultural differences and the cultural business and the collaboration in the different nuances with the sensitivity we have maybe at all the places, slowly we can build for startups, but also for existing projects, and for investments, a platform that works globally and internationally.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's very interesting you mentioned earlier. I think a number of businesses are going to smaller European countries to incorporate their businesses, and which they do still get the same regulatory framework as you would get in all other European Union, to say. But let's take here Clive's view. Perhaps Clive could talk to us. I know he's not quite inclined to blockchain and crypto space, but if we can hear your thoughts in the fintech and investment industry.
Yeah, I think, I mean, firstly, from a blockchain point of view, I can only agree with Stefan and Bruce. I have absolutely nothing more to add on that. All I do know is that the South African Reserve Bank is getting involved in a prototype and POC with the 5-6 big banks in South Africa, where they're going to come up with the regulations. So I think it's very well coordinated, and I think it's a project that's, I think there's a high ROI on that project, where you're not getting everyone's trying to do their own thing, but rather a coordinated effort between the Reserve Bank and the legislator and the banks. I think in fintech, I must be honest, I think there's been some good progress in South Africa. I don't think fintech has got what Stefan was saying in South Africa. I think fintech have got, I wouldn't say carte blanche, but they are taking on the banks. And if they've got a good business case and they've got the right architecture and they've got the right ticks in the right boxes, I believe this fintech is, the banks have got competitors, and those are the fintechs. The digital banks are definitely taking on the big players. And I don't think the big players, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I spoke to the CEOs of the banks and said, what keeps you awake at night? And they said, nothing. I said, don't these digital players and digital banks? They said, no. And I'll tell you something, I asked that question now, and the answer is a very, very different answer. Because those digital banks can do it faster, cheaper, quicker, and they can offer basically the same services, whether it's transaction-based services, whether it's savings, deposits, insurance, et cetera, et cetera. They can offer those same sort of services. So fintech is becoming a major player, and I think the big corporates are starting to take notice. So I think David can beat Goliath here in the fintech space. I think what you are seeing 5 years ago, I think the banks have always got that choice of you either build it, you buy it, or you borrow it. And I think their attitude was they'll build everything because they can, and they'll just spend the money and build it. But I think that's completely changed now. I think the banks are realizing, let's rather buy it, we acquire it, or let's rather borrow it, that we form a partnership with these fintechs. And it's been so much more successful now since these large financial service institutions and stop trying to build it themselves and realize that's not their core competency. They're wasting money. They can't build it in. They'll take years what the entrepreneurs can do in weeks. And they're either partnering or they're acquiring the fintech or whatever types of financial technology it is. So I think that's a very, very positive movement. It's great for the entrepreneurs in fintech. There's an exit opportunity, or there's a very big chance of scaling right across Africa, because many of these financial services players are not South African players. They become African players. So whether it's the telecoms, whether it's the retailers, whether it's the banks, they are playing all over Africa now. So it's an opportunity for an entrepreneur to get distribution, which is exactly what an entrepreneur needs to scale, is to get distribution. So that's really what's happening, I'd say, in the fintech space in South Africa and Africa.
Thank you very much, Clive. With that, we've come to the end of this session, but before we say goodbye, can we take a closing comment from the panelists on the topics we have discussed? Maybe you can start, Bruce.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot to LATOKEN for putting this together. I really appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job in the space as far as pushing projects forward and innovating. I can see that you're really leading the way. So that is fascinating to watch, and happy to be a part. I think for everybody, it's time to, as I've said a couple of times in this, really buckle down and build it. Make sure that you're coming out with the new technologies that are going to move things forward, and don't stop. And we're going to get through this. We'll be better off, and I can't wait to see everybody on the road again.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Stephan.
Okay. Any crisis has a clear end date. We don't know yet if we already reached the bottom of the current downtrend, and it might face a further drop in the following month, or as Bruce predicted, maybe a year. But we have an efficient investment market, and it reacts to available information, right? And that means use the time now, reflect, adjust your business, prepare yourself and your team with the right narrative for the investors. Look out for investors, look out for the right platforms to communicate that, and then be ready and bring your business in the pole position. I watched the Formula 1 race on the weekend. Bring your business in the pole position when this crisis is ready so that you can restart your activities.
Thank you very much, Clive.
Yeah, I think just to add to what both Stefan and Bruce said, I think this is the time for leaders to step up. Whether you're a leader in a corporate or whether you're a leader in an entrepreneur initiative, I think the micromanaging of your team, that all has to stop. You have to start co-creating with your team. You have to stop micromanaging them. You have to move from being an entrepreneur to being a leader. And I think what we need here in any entrepreneurial organization is true leadership. The people that can set themselves aside, hire the best people, let them go, let them actually get their job done. You provide the vision. You become the visionary leader, not the boss who's telling them what to do. Tell them what to do, and they will actually get the job done. So become a leader, bring out the best leadership qualities that you can. Stop micromanaging, stop being the boss, stop letting your limiting beliefs hold you back from what can be done, because there's no stopping what can be done. As I said earlier, really large companies have been built in trying times like this, and the best companies are going to come not with the best technology are going to be the winners. So the best team, the best leadership, and I think those are going to be the winners of the future. So get out there and just make it happen. Get, as I think Facebook says, GSD, get S done.
Excellent, Clive. Thank you so much for those points. I just want to add, a great leader leads by empowering his employees or her employees. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Sunny, you've got the floor now, right?
Thank you, Osita. Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Clive, for your amazing insights. We are not stopping here. We have got the sessions throughout the week, tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday. So Wednesday, I have a special session speaking to somebody from algae farming. He's going to be speaking about algae farming, algae oil, and the future of food and everything on this Wednesday. Please don't miss out the sessions. All the links are there on our website, www.latoken/events. and you can choose and play them as you go. Thank you very much, and stay healthy, stay safe, and see you soon.